Picture the day you walked down the aisle. You were a woman forged in the fires of the 1970s and 80s, fierce, capable, and profoundly self-reliant. You brought your latchkey independence into your marriage, genuinely believing you were entering into an equal, balanced partnership. But look at your reality today. You are sitting at the edge of your bed in a quiet house, exhausted to your cellular core, realizing that somewhere between those optimistic vows and this very moment you completely vanished. You did not just sacrifice your free time or compromise on your preferences. You lost the fundamental core of who you were. You traded your hard-earned autonomy to become the ultimate silent manager of another human being's existence. And in the process, you became entirely invisible to yourself. This is the quiet tragedy of the modern Generation X woman. You survived your feral childhood by learning to need absolutely no one, only to lose yourself in a marriage where everyone desperately needs you. To understand exactly how a fiercely independent Gen X woman loses her identity inside a marriage, you have to look under the hood of your own psychological conditioning. You grew up in the era of empty houses, high divorce rates, and working parents, where you were forced to handle your own problems, soothe your own fears. You were praised for your unnatural maturity and your ability to quietly take on adult responsibilities, without demanding attention or causing a fuss. You learned very early on that being the strong one, the child who required absolutely nothing from the emotionally unavailable adults around you, was your currency. When you entered your marriage, you brought that exact same impenetrable armor with you. You implicitly believed that to be loved, you had to be endlessly useful. You absorbed the distorted, societal perspective that you could seamlessly balance a career, a flawless family, and a perfect marriage entirely alone. You did not consciously plan to take over every single aspect of your life, but your nervous system was hardwired to step in and fix things. If your spouse dropped a ball, you instinctively caught it. If there was a conflict, you immediately mediated it. You became the designated problem solver. In psychological terms, you seamlessly recreated the emotional parentification of your youth, only this time you were effectively parenting your own spouse. What looked like love and devotion to the outside world was actually a deeply ingrained trauma response, a desperate attempt to maintain control. But this relentless overfunctioning came at a devastating cost. A sustainable marriage requires profound vulnerability. It requires two people actively leaning on each other. So you built an impenetrable wall around your own desires and your own profound exhaustion. You stopped asking for support because needing help felt terrifying. Over the years, your spouse learned to rely completely on your flawless exterior, and they simply stopped asking how you were doing. You became a function, a reliable utility, the invisible engine running the household machinery while your own internal battery drained to absolute zero. Today, you look at the landscape of your marriage and feel a profound isolation. You are sleeping next to someone who has no idea who you actually are. You sacrificed your hobbies, your friendships, and your authentic voice to keep the peace. You are intensely lonely in a crowded room. In Part 2, we will explore the toxic buildup of quiet resentment and why your body is literally keeping the score of a marriage you carry alone. You look across the dinner table at the person you married, and a quiet, devastating realization washes over you. You are not a partner in this marriage. You are a project manager. You are the invisible engine keeping the entire household running, anticipating every crisis, managing every schedule, and absorbing every emotional shockwave. You brought your flawless latchkey survival skills into your home, genuinely believing that your extreme competence was an act of love. But somewhere along the way, your capability became your cage. Your spouse learned to step back because you were always so quick to step in, and now you are carrying the weight of two adults. You have meticulously organized your shared life, but in the process, you have entirely lost yourself. The feral independence that kept you safe in an empty house in the 1980s is now the exact weapon destroying the intimacy in your marriage. As a child, you were implicitly taught that expressing your feelings was a sign of weakness, a lesson that takes a lifetime to unlearn. You took great pride in never needing anyone, building an impenetrable fortress around your heart. But psychologists note that while extreme self-sufficiency can help us weather storms, they fundamentally rob us of true intimacy. By being afraid of showing weakness, you are actively preventing yourself from being fully engaged in the relationship. Your deep-seated fear is freezing out the opportunity for profound love, simply because sharing your innermost thoughts feels like a life or death risk. Because you lacked a model for emotional connection growing up, you withhold trust and affection from your partner today as a defense mechanism. You do not associate closeness with safety. Instead, you associate it with the terrifying potential of being let down. So you maintain control by doing everything yourself. You manage the finances, the children, the holidays, and the emotional weather. But you cannot be deeply romantically connected to someone whose entire existence you have to manage. The dynamic shifts from a partnership to a parent-child relationship where you are constantly overfunctioning. This deeply unequal dynamic breeds a highly toxic, quiet resentment. You absorb the distorted perspective that you could balance motherhood, a household, and a career entirely alone. But your mouth wrote checks that your physical and emotional body simply cannot cash. The massive overdraft fees of this hyper-independence are profound burnout and deep-seated resentment. Carrying all that weight day after day leaves you feeling intensely isolated and bitter. You silently resent your partner for not noticing you are drowning, yet your trauma response rejects their help. You are trapped in a self-made paradox, furious that you have to do it all, but terrified to let anyone else take the wheel. What your spouse does not understand is that your refusal to delegate is not about control, it is about biology. When you refuse to ask for help, your brain perceives a literal threat to your survival. Every single time you say, "I will just handle it myself," your body's stress response system lights up like a pinball machine. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your bloodstream, keeping your nervous system in a chronic state of hypervigilance. Your body genuinely believes you are saving your tribe from a predator when you are just saving your spouse from their own chaos. Over the years, this chronic activation has fundamentally rewired your nervous system into absolute fatigue. You have spent decades thinking this relentless exhaustion is just what a successful marriage looks like. But what you are experiencing is not true competence. It is profound burnout masquerading as competence. Your body is literally keeping the score of a marriage you are carrying entirely on your own. The emotional solitude you experienced as a latchkey kid has morphed into the solitude of a lonely marriage. You are sleeping right next to someone, yet you feel completely unseen and utterly alone. You cannot sustain a marriage on emergency generator power forever. The physical aches, digestive issues, and crushing brain fog are not signs of personal failure. They are the undeniable alarms of a nervous system collapsing under the unnatural weight of an unequal partnership. You have spent your entire life making yourself small and endlessly useful just to ensure you would not be abandoned. But the foundation of this dynamic is finally cracking. In Part 3, we will explore the terrifying breaking point the moment your body stages a full biological revolt, the explosive reality of midlife awakening, and why reclaiming your identity means risking the marriage you have sacrificed everything to protect. You wake up one morning, perhaps somewhere in your late 40s or early 50s, and you realize that your body is no longer merely asking for a break. It is staging a full-scale, undeniable biological mutiny. For years, you have been the invisible engine of your marriage, running your household on the emergency generator power of pure adrenaline and relentless hypervigilance. But human physiology was never designed to sustain this state. You are now experiencing a cellular exhaustion that a weekend of sleep simply cannot cure. Society is quick to dismiss your profound fatigue as simple perimenopause. They might offer you medication or tell you to practice better self-care. But blaming your depletion entirely on hormones is a reductive insult to your reality. You are not merely transitioning. You are collapsing under the cumulative, crushing pressure of a lifetime of overfunctioning for everyone around you, particularly your spouse. You are standing squarely in Sniper's Alley. The tsunami of midlife problems hitting you right now is multifaceted, unpredictable, and overwhelmingly heavy. You are navigating career demands, potentially caring for aging parents, and managing your children's emotional lives, all while propping up a spouse who has grown passive. Your partner is physically present across the dinner table, but they are psychologically unavailable. They learn to step back and let you handle everything. You seamlessly recreated the emotional parentification of your feral latchkey youth. Only this time, you have spent your best years effectively parenting your own partner. This deeply unequal dynamic has drained your internal battery to absolute zero, leaving you isolated in a desperately lonely marriage. When you look in the mirror today, you might feel a sudden, terrifying disconnect. You might think, everything about me feels wrong. My hair, my clothes. You look at the life you meticulously built and realize you do not recognize the person inhabiting it anymore. You have made yourself small to survive. Almost 2/3 of women over 50 are silently struggling with their mental health, battling severe anxiety and a creeping sense of despair. What you are experiencing right now is not a cliché midlife crisis. It is a profound, unavoidable reckoning with the neurobiology of your survival skills. Your developing brain was rewired in the quiet houses of the 70s and 80s to view extreme independence as your only source of safety. Even now, the thought of asking your spouse to carry their fair share triggers a massive trauma response. Saying no feels like a threat to survival. You are furiously resentful that you have to do it all, yet your biology leaves you utterly terrified to relinquish control. Your body's physical breakdown is not a weakness. It is an urgent intervention forcing you to confront the truth. You must stop managing your spouse's existence. But here is the paradox. You know that if you stop overfunctioning, your marriage might not survive. You have sacrificed your soul to protect it. In Part 4, we will explore how to navigate this agonizing precipice, and how to finally break the silence without breaking yourself. You are standing at the absolute edge of a terrifying cliff in your marriage. You know that you cannot continue to be the invisible engine running your household. Your body is breaking down. But the thought of putting down the burden of managing your spouse's existence feels like jumping into the void. Starting in the quiet houses of the 1980s, your extreme self-reliance has been your most reliable currency. To stop catching the balls your partner drops forces you to confront the question, if you are not useful, will you be loved? For the modern Generation X woman, setting a boundary inside a marriage feels like a punishable crime. You were raised to never let them see you sweat, and you built your marital dynamic around that exact premise. You developed massive measures of self-protection to keep people from getting too close, associating vulnerability with the potential of being abandoned. By being afraid of showing weakness, you are freezing out the actual opportunity for profound, reciprocal love. The dynamic has shifted to a parent-child relationship, where you overfunction to compensate for a spouse who has grown comfortably passive. Your nervous system processes the word no as a threat. Every time you consider asking for help, your body floods with panic. You think you are protecting your marriage, but you are actually burning yourself out and masquerading that burnout as extreme competence. Every time you delegate a task or set a boundary, your body physically interprets that action as safety. But letting them step in will feel wrong at first. Your spouse has grown comfortable with the version of you that requires no maintenance. You must let the ball drop. You have to stop repairing the bridge while they are walking on it. Healing your role does not mean erasing your resilience. It means redefining what true independence actually looks like. It is dismantling the walls you built as a child and allowing your spouse to see the tired woman behind the armor. By stepping out of the project manager role, you reclaim your right to exist without having to earn your space through relentless labor. But what happens if your partner refuses to step up?